It's just like my first day at school. I remember I was having trouble with that essay for like my sophomore year English final, and I reached out to you because you're my favorite YouTuber for help with it, and then we really hit it off, and you explained to me that I don't need school, and that my parents were like totally abusing me, and I didn't have any friends there, but now I'm here, and and everyone, and we're all friends and sisters. So I guess what's in my heart is love.
You are doing so good.
Yay! Thank you.
You belong here.
Wow, I've never belonged anywhere before.
Ladies, did each of you eat your entire hot dog today?
Hello, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Horror with Patrizia Thompson. I am here with Louise Ward. Louise, I'm going to give you a proper intro. Well, first of all, thank you for being on this. As I just said to you before I started recording, I haven't done one of these for a while.
I'm really excited to be here. I mean, I absolutely love getting to talk about my work and this movie especially. So thanks for having me.
I'll just kind of give you an intro to Louise for people who may not know. I'd say anybody who's listening to this probably might know you best from Castration Movie. Louise is the writer, director, producer, star of Castration Movie, or Castration Anthology Movie Part 1 Wraps, and then the subsequent sequels. She has a degree in film semiotic. She made a short in 2014 called Computer Hearts, which is really worth checking out. She produced Dion Copeland's feature Cold Wind Blowing and the upcoming Riding Shotgun. You also produced Alice Maya McKay's new feature, didn't you? The Serpent Skin.
Yeah, me and Alice co-produced it. I mean, like it's one of those things where Alice is such a powerhouse in and of herself that to come on as a producer is almost more of a cheerleader role. Like most of what I did was help with the casting and then scheduling and stuff. But Alice is one of those like filmmakers where it's like, oh yeah, I'll go do this, then I'll come back a week later and she'll be like, oh yeah, no, I just got it done already. Like
Alice is like, I say this with love, like as like a 35-year-old tranny, she makes me like will just make you feel inadequate. And I mean this positively in terms of at 21, this is her sixth feature film.
yeah, she just turned 21 last week. I mean,
No,
um
insane.
the thing I'll say is like I don't think I ever felt that degree of jealousy or anything towards Alice. I think it's just like to me it's the best example of what's possible with the sort of modern sort of network of like independent film. Like I really do
100%.
think she's like that success story of I mean like back in I think it was like the 90s, Francis Ford Coppola was talking about like digital filmmaking. It was like, oh, like some Midwestern girl could pick up a
Yeah.
camera and make a feature film. And I feel like Alice is really like the payoff to that sort of like democratization of film conversation. Like she's like the case study in that
Oh,
big
100%.
path.
I mean,
Um,
I
yeah.
say inadequate only semi joking, more so just like I get it a lot as a trans girl with like the kids who came true and like who came out in their like late teens or early 20s and have basically been living that life from their 20s. Whereas like I lived as a cis man, basically was engaged to a cis woman, did all that. Anyway, that's very early to trauma dump in what is ostensibly
Well,
an
hey, no, that's the castration movie thing though, because like that's definitely what I'm working through with castration movie. Um,
100%.
so I think that's definitely a valid point of
Well,
conversation
I think
that I'm
that
sure we'll unpack.
Well, I think that one thing that will really I kind of touched upon in my interview and something because I want to proper bit introduce what you've done in Big Dog you a bit, but like one of the things that we will get into, and it's something that you've talked about a lot, is how much can we talk about trans cinema, for want of a better word, of trans representations of our lives by trans filmmakers without talking about the personal. There is no way, basically, I think. But I get into that. To say what Louise has also she's done, she's produced the aforementioned Cold Wind Blowing, Riding Shotgun, which is coming out soon. Serpent Skin, you've worked in base independent film in Vancouver since you were 19 years old.
Yeah, I'd say 19 is a good one. I mean, like I was like volunteering for film festivals and stuff as a teenager, and
Yeah.
but like when I started actually working on film sets would have been like right after I turned 19.
Yeah, and as I said, directed Computer Hearts. You also were the editor, kind of presenter of the fantastically named 100 Best Kills Texas Birth Control Dick Destruction, which I urge anyone to check out. If you buy the bundle for Computer Hearts that's on Gumroad, you can get not only compute so much stuff related to Computer Hearts, but Sid's your earlier short, which is Castration Movie is to a certain degree kind of a remake of, or the ending will be. And also the 100 Greatest Kills. So yeah, Louise, thank you so much. Yeah, so I wanted to interview you anyway, and I also wanted to start a horror podcast. And initially I was thinking like, well, does Castration Movie that kind of fit into a horror movie, into a horror podcast? But then when I kind of watched Computer Hearts and learned more about where the world that you had come from, working with the unfortunately passed Ryan Nicholson and stuff like that, I kind of realized that I think it's fair to say that like most of your experience prior to Castration Movie is kind of in the horror genre.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say, I mean, Castration Movie, I think is a horror
I
movie.
well, I would also
Um,
say fuck you, it's my
I think
podcast.
that
I
just
can have what I want, who I want,
it,
but also
yeah, I mean, like,
it is a horror movie.
I to me the thing about castration movie that's so funny is I took everything I learned in underground horror. That was like, you know, your goal with like underground horror, like the stuff I was working on in the early 2010s, was coming out of this world of like one-upmanship and like trying to create images that would sort of like perturb the audience in a way that was like, oh, who can make like the next most fucked up movie? So like when I was working
Yeah.
with guys like Ryan Nicholson, there was such a glee in like
Oh,
us and the
100%.
cast and stuff, like joking around. Like, you know, I remember like one of the most like key moments for me was when I was 19 years old. I was helping out doing the lighting and like being the camera assistant and kind of Ryan's assistant and just like doing every odd job possible on the set for his movie Caller. And it's like a movie about like a homeless serial killer who's killing cops and prostitutes. And I remember there's this one scene where he's where the homeless serial killer is raping this woman, and we're all freezing our butts out off in the Canadian winter, and the actress is just like turns to Ryan and just softly says like, "Hey Ryan, do you want me to piss myself on this take?" And he thinks about it for a second and goes, "Well, I mean, if you're feeling it, I mean, it's not necessary or whatever." But like, it was just like having that group of people who were so game to just like have fun pushing the
Yeah.
envelope. And I think that what I learned from that was then taken to Castration Movie, where it was once again collaborating with people who I was friends with, who would push those envelopes with me. But instead of it being like, oh, trying to do like the goriest, craziest, like rape scene or whatever, like
Although
with
there
the
is
underground stuff, now it's like pushed into conversation. You know, it's like who can say like, you know, trying to say the craziest thing. Like there's like a different level to the transgression. But I think it is still horrifying when you hear characters say some of the stuff they do in Castration Movie.
Oh, honestly, like it is a horror movie in the way that like my girlfriend was reacting in the screening. Like, just it goes to a level of kind of painful cringe that is beyond something I've seen before, and it's visceral. Like it is a horror. It gets horror film reactions, as you said, from the viscerality of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the ending of the film is also going to have a more traditional extreme horror kind of aspect to it, isn't it?
Well, you know what's really funny is I don't want to speak too much. Like I did say in my initial crowdfunding campaign that the movie was sort of a covert remake of my short film Sudden Infant Death Syndrome, which was like a movie that I made when I was like I made it during the same time I was making Computer Hearts, and it's sort of a sister film to the themes of Computer Hearts, where one is about computer, and the other one is about like sort of the medical system, I guess. Like two things that I was definitely were on my mind, and this idea of like gatekeeping in healthcare,
Yeah, we're well
around
used to
like
that, aren't we?
trying to do like gender affirming surgeries, because at the time I was thinking like, oh, maybe I want to get a vasectomy. And there was like a questionnaire that asked all these like questions about your future plans and all this stuff. I just like couldn't even conceptualize what it would look like to be a father or something. And then the last question on this questionnaire was like, are you aware of sudden infant death syndrome? And I was like, that goes so hard. That feels like it felt like metal music to me. Like I was
100%.
like, I need to put this into a short. So that was I got Ryan Nicholson to play the doctor who does the opening monologue that's asking
Right.
all of those questions to my character. But to work it all together, what my goal is with Castration Movie is to when I say it's like a covert remake of SIDS, it's because it's once again talking about these questions of medical gatekeeping and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm going to leave it up to the audience as to how this stuff will play out. But like the one thing I
Mhm.
have revealed is that there is a lot of stuff about the character I play, Michaela, wanting eventually to get a back alley orchiectomy. It does deal with like DIY healthcare and stuff. Because I mean, like when I made SIDS, it was like very much inspired by like there's a short story or like a short zine by a writer named Sybil Lamb called "How Not to Get a Sex Change." That's about
Amazing.
like an
That's been on my list.
experience. Yeah, it's about an experience of getting a DIY orky, and I found that really inspirational. And then, since then, like thanks to uh, just the nature of the internet, I've seen so many amazing videos of girls doing their own DIY gender
Oh,
affirming care surgeries, and I just find that stuff so fascinating.
oh, it's intensely fascinating. And to be clear, listener, that is not an of disapproval of anybody going to the lengths they have to do. It's just that's intense. Like that's intense.
Yeah, no, like I think obvious for my work is like there's a degree towards like a sort of radical sort of like d taking agency over yourself, and I find that like
Yeah.
doing anything DIY in that way is like such an amazing liberatory act, and I think it's sick to get to explore that on film in a way that uh molds like what happens in SIDS with like a much more transcendent, longer journey. Like there's so much with these characters. But back to the question of Castration Movie as a horror film, I would actually say that that stuff that will now be happening in part four of Castration Movie
Yeah, we'll get
is
to the
is
multiple parts later.
yeah, is less horror than what happens in part two, which comes out in
Oh, hell
September.
fucking yeah.
Part two I've been describing it as like what if like YouTubers from the late aughts like what if Channel Awesome made Salo or the 120 Days of
Oh my
Summer?
God, that's amazing. Well, I kind of got some of that vibes from the trailer with like the kind of the trans girl cult and the buckets and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But I mean, I didn't before I get onto what I was gonna say, didn't Ryan offer you the part of being a trans sex worker in Collar?
So it was I can't remember which project it was, either that one. I think it was actually for Gutterballs 2 when we were shooting that. For Caller, I was asked to maybe play. There's a character in it who is a highly molested little boy who then grows up to be the serial killer. So there was like a scene where the boy's getting molested by the Catholic priest, and because I was like this like twinkie 19-year-old, I could play youngest. But I had classes the day they were shooting it, so I didn't make it out for that day. So Ryan's son Taylor ended up playing that role.
Ryan
But
is like my minimal interaction with Ryan was I used to write for a horror site that is only accessible through the Wayback Machine now, and reviewed Gutter Balls. Or actually, no, Ryan sent me a DVD, and I never actually reviewed it for the site. I'm sorry, Ryan.
oh,
Um, but that's the only one of his films that I've seen. But I find him a fascinating character in that, he was from what I can understand him, this guy who was, a husband and a father who seemed in every interview and everything to be pretty reasonable, but like goddamn, his films went there and people have opinions about his movies and
yeah. Well, I was gonna say like that's the thing that's so funny is Ryan is like one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with. Like I took my entire filmmaking philosophy from the sort of like kindness and patience and like attitude that he had going, like how he ran a set as a director. Like it was so inspirational to me. Like I walked away from when we did Gutterballs 2 together because I was the cinematographer on the Vancouver unit for that. I walked away from that experience where we were shooting these like brutal, insane like rape and murder scenes, with this like sort of sense of like, oh, you can really film anything with people as long as you do it in like a safe and comfortable environment. And like I would call it like beer drinking movies where like,
yeah.
we'd get together with a plan of what we wanted to do that day, but we kept it loose where we could improvise and have fun and everyone could like pitch in their ideas. And like in Gutterballs 2, I'm playing this like very effeminate, like I'm playing myself very like effeminately and like silly as like Ryan's assistant. Like it gets very meta in the second half of that film, and like
Yeah, so I've
it
heard.
was
Gutter Balls is the only one of his films I've seen, and I really they've been kind of like shit for distribution in the UK and Ireland.
yeah.
I know there are other ways, of course, but like I for that reason I've just kind of not encountered much of his work. But like I think from what I think his work exists in a space that it exists in, and like to complain about it being tasteless or everything, it's like what do you expect? Like this is the
Well, and the comment I always make is like, okay, so Gutterballs maybe has the most transphobic scene ever put on film.
which is of
Like,
course a huge part of your sorry, before I go on, the thing that I wanted to say about you and the horror genre is that the more that I got into kind of researching your kind of stuff and then listening to your great podcast Transpanic that you do at IFA, like you are, and I say this complimentary, like you are a sicko, like you are a sicko girl, like you are a kindred spirit in that regard. Like you have gone to the level of sicko that I have not gone to yet, which is like the Lucifer Valentine vomit gore movies and the guinea pig movies and like that kind of stuff. Like I haven't gone there. So like when I kind of what I realize is I'm like, yo, like this girl is like this girl is a sicko who is now being interviewed by like The Guardian and stuff, which is amazing. But I was like, I said to my girlfriend last night, I was talking to her and she's the one who I was talking about, I saw the movie with her and my other girlfriend and I was talking to her last night and I said like I think we could talk for like an hour about just fucked up movies and not mention castration movie whatsoever. Of course
yeah,
I'm going to,
yeah.
but like I mean, why? I guess like to take it back, like where did you grow up in Canada?
I grew up in rural Canada, so in Saskatchewan and Alberta. So lots of farm and oil industry. And I spent a lot of time as a kid on like on the farm or traveling to like my extended family who lived on like an orchard, like a peach orchard. So just like wide open spaces, the perfect sort of places to watch like a horror movie in the basement of a
Hell yeah.
farmhouse. Like I remember when I was a kid, like seeing the movie Signs and then like walking out into like the wheat fields on my grandpa's farm, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm like right in it. Like like this is actually so
So
spooky. So I definitely was like very drawn to horror as a kid. And I think that I think that like reflecting back on it as an adult, like there was like probably a perverse sensation to it where I was getting some degree of thrill or stimulation out of like challenging myself to see like the most scary, the
oh,
most fucked up
100%.
movie. And like the movie that really changed things for me that I always go back to is Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Because I'd asked my dad what's the scariest movie you've ever seen. He said The Shining, which I think is the funniest choice for
It's a
your
very boomer
alcoholic
choice, though.
dad to say is the scariest movie. It's like, oh yeah, the one where the alcoholic dad who works too hard and kills his
Jeez.
family. And I'm like, in hindsight, really funny. But like the I ended up convincing him. I was like, oh, if I read the book first, will you buy me the movie? So I read the book, which isn't that great, but has moments, I guess. And then said to my dad, "Well, I read the book, so there's no way the movie will be scarier than my own imagination." So I ended up talking him in somehow, or I was like a budding cinephile. So I was like, oh, well, if I like The Shining, I might like these other movies by this director. So there was like a new box set on DVD that had just come out of Stanley Kubrick's movies. So I did that. I remember my dad looked at it and said, I think the only ones I'll need to watch with you are The Shining and Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, Jesus.
Which I thought was really funny, watching Eyes Wide Shut with my dad like sleeping on the couch next to me. But it was Clockwork Orange that I watched by myself that really jumped out at me. It was like that. It was the first time I like kind of recognized the authorship of a movie, and it comes down to like there's the scene when Alex bludgeons the woman to death with the phallus statue, and when he hits her in the face with the statue, rather than show the impact, it cuts to this like crash zoom on a photo of a woman screaming on the wall, and that
Yeah.
like conveys so much more violence than showing the violence would. And that was like so stimulating to me that I was like, I need to fully direct everything in my life around trying to do that. So I got deeply into film and horror, especially. Um, my biggest resource at the time was the IMDb message boards where I could just
Hell
go
yeah.
look at a
That's a
movie and
vibe.
then find recommendations. So like on the Clockwork Orange like board was like, movies as disturbing as Clockwork Orange, right? You go on
Hmm.
there and then all of a sudden I'm finding David Lynch alongside like the guinea pig movies, it's like everything opens up in that moment where I'm seeing like every movie. And also this is like the early 2000s. So like, or like 2004 or whatever. So like, what it's like also a huge boom for like disturbing films around the world where we have like
Yeah.
the new Japanese stuff, the new French stuff, and these like American independents like the Guinea or sorry, like the August Underground and later Vomit Gore stuff. So like it was just a lot of these places, people who are also giving like all these movies also are so liberating when you're young and wanting to start making movies because
Yeah,
they're all
100%.
shot on video, and it all feels like so accessible in a way where it's like, oh, I can get my friends together, and if we learn to do some like silly makeup effects or even like just DIY, like some stuff from the butcher shop or whatever, like we can still make a movie out of it. And so like that was what we started doing, like trying to make like sort of like our idea of like a trauma movie in our backyard.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like, yeah, for me, like, Clockwork Orange was huge in terms of it was one of the first, kind of like I know it is a mainstream film, but it seems so much less than like the blockbusters that I'd watched before that point. And I had first girlfriend who had the Clockwork Orange t-shirt. Like I think it took me a while to appreciate the actual filmmaking of it because on the face of it, it's not that shocking comparatively to the kind like if you from a stupid teenage sense of it, it's not as explicit as these other films that you've mentioned. So I think like my appreciation kind of definitely got better over time, but it's got something powerful to it. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a
Well,
second there.
I mean, I guess I'll jump in and then in tandem to that, I think that alongside underground film, another big thing for me that's present in all of my work is early internet content
Yeah,
because
hugely.
I was definitely someone who, like, it was kind of funny. Like, the thing that scared me worse than any horror movie was the horrors that might lurk online on, like, these sort of, like, video aggregation sites. Like there was
Yeah.
such a more sick fascination with like clicking through the E-Bombs World front page. Like you could see stuff way more horrifying there than you'd get
The
out of
not
your
safe
average
for life
horror film.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean like and like the thing was that was like all of that aesthetic definitely inspired me so much. I mean like going into Computer Hearts was my first kind of short and then 10 years between that and Castration Movie. I think it's all very looking at the same themes of how the online interacts with real life and then also I think that the style of the internet is so inherent in my work,
Oh,
like
100%. Yeah.
especially like early YouTube, like film review culture. Like I name dropped Channel Awesome earlier. Like I joked that the movie To Boldly Flee, which is like one of the like nostalgia critic movies, was the biggest influence on Castration Movie Part
That's
2.
amazing.
But it's like I do think that stuff was inspirational in the sense of like the underground films. The main impetus of it was like, oh, we can sh do this ourselves, and all it
Yeah.
requires is us to get our friends together, and we can have whatever stupid lore and whatever. Like, it was just like world building online in a way that was like really cool and sophisticated, and like required so much like additional context. Where it's like if you were just dropped into this without knowledge of all these personalities and how their sort of like narratives interact with each other, you'd be lost. And like it kind of freed me up to feel like I could do something like Castration Movie that requires so much like extra like sort of text. Like we never take a moment to explain anything about like incel or trans culture or any of this stuff. Like these terms just fly
Yeah.
by you, and these characters kind of simulate like archetypes of who like are like posters online, and like you just have to
Yeah.
kind of go with it with like whatever knowledge you have, or just hopefully the movie is engrossing enough that like if you miss out on stuff, it's still a fun movie to watch. And then obviously the other thing in tandem of like the late 2000s, early 2010s that is huge for me and is what like got me to take the whole filmmaking thing like more serious above like a I'm gonna make this stuff and post on YouTube side of it was mumblecore as a genre because it was like
Yeah.
seeing the
Well,
stuff
was
that was coming out of that
Computer
was
Hearts was kind of your attempt to do a
yeah.
proper mumblegore film that was
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was my Mumblegore movie. And I remember laughing because it was like, kind of like right like when you look back on that era, it's like kind of right towards the tail end of the Mumblecore era. So
Mm.
I think it could count actually as like a canonical Mumblecore movie. It just doesn't have like it just wasn't made in New York, I guess is like the only thing. Although Adam Wingard was also like off on his own doing stuff, so I think it's appropriate to classify it still.
No, I think, genre, as I've kind of like been trying to argue, or I don't even argue, is very flexible. And I think that, I'll put it this way in terms of what you were talking about. At the screening of Castration Movie in Dublin, when Trap starts to go on to 4chan, there was like this like, oh no, like groan from the audience that's like, we know, like we've like seen brain rot, and I think like I mean this
Hmm.
like positively, but like your movies are brain rotted. They like show the reality of like being a brain rotted tranny on the internet. And in the same way that like Vera's movie, The People's Joker, really does. Like Vera's movie is like terminally online maximalism that can only come from and it goes beyond trans. It goes into being a trans weirdo on the internet. And like I have for a long time kind of like half jokingly said that I'm a horror fan first before I'm a lesbian, poly, a trans woman, whatever, because when I know that people are on the same sicko wavelength, that identifies someone as like being someone who I can fuck with more than anything else.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I was having that conversation with my like buddies, my friend Mark Wilmot, who's like the producer on Castration Movie with me. We were both talking about like that horror fans first thing and being like, oh God,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like that's the like I've had this conversation with a lot of people actually about like, especially if you're like struggling to build like trans community or something. I'm always like, yeah, but why are you trying to build trans community? Like build over something you have an interest in. Like because being trans isn't like a special interest. And if you make it that, then you're like a crazy person like Michaela is in my movie. Like,
I think we all do for a
yeah.
little bit. Let's
Oh,
be
you know,
real.
I think so, but also it's like I believe that like your first year transition, you should be put in like containment and not allowed to post online.
Yeah.
But like, although also I think that it's important, maybe part of that life cycle to have like, I guess your year of like thinking every thought you've had, you're the first person to have it and
My
all that
year of
sort.
posting dangerously.
Yeah, God. But like, what the thing I'll say about the 4chan stuff in Castration Movie is that like I actually have a lot of love for 4chan. I built community on there
I
when
mean,
I
your
was
films were
like,
funded through 4chan.
well, yeah, I mean like I joke that like I did advertise on there. I'm still friends with some people from those days. Like it's just like I was very yeah like to comment on the funded by 4chan thing. It's like I when crowdfunding was new, I ran banner ads on 4chan's TV board for computer hearts um, to
It
try to
was
get
not
some money
funded
into
by
it.
Q.
Yeah, which like was mostly it was like a shit post though because it was like I'm posting, people know my posting on 4chan's TV board because we would it was like early letterboxed beta days, like early days like when letterbox had just come out, and so we'd have like a thread where we would be kind of talking about how we were using letterbox and what we were watching, and so I got like we all knew each other like the kind of cinephile people on 4chan through those threads. So it was like kind of a joke that I would pay the $20 to run a banner ad for a day where all of my friends would then, who already know I'm making this movie, would then see it. It was just like a sort of a layer of self immolation. Like it was like meant to be like a funny joke. And like when I say the movie is funded by 4chan, that's like a further part of that. Like it, like
Yeah.
with the cultural connotation of it, it's like humiliating, but I'm like reclaiming it in a way that is like meant to be kind of like like add a layer of, I think that for some people it'll come across as edgy, but for me, it's trying to speak to the fact that it's like, no, like sure, this website has like this like very notorious connotation, but for a
Mm.
freak like myself, it was a place where I was able to build community. And when I was like at my most shut in, not leaving the house, not having really any friends, it's like that was and not like purposely shut in. It was like my first summer in university. My girlfriend was away from
Mm.
town. I just like was kind of like left stranded on campus and no one was around. So it was like, I'd have like one or two friends I could see when they were available, but otherwise I was on 4chan with like, relationships that were very real and meaningful to me, who were friends, and some of those people I'm still in touch with to this day.
Yeah, that's
Um,
amazing.
and so like when Michaela or Turner in the movie post on 4chan, I think it is this idea of as they continue to alienate all the people around them in their real life, they still have this comfort in this online community where even if they're just lurking,
Yeah.
um, there is a degree to which they feel cozy with the glow of that computer screen. And I think that showing like the sort of like the presentation of what it's like to scroll and
No,
to
it
and
gives you
whatever
the brain rot of that for sure. Like it comes
yeah, and like
across
I think
brilliant.
that one of the things that is most interesting when I get to tour this movie around is what especially the 4chan scroll scene, which is just me filming like the night that scene takes place on. I went on 4chan and just filmed the what was actually posted, right? Like it's just pure documented of like December 23rd, 2023 or whatever. And when I play that sequence in the theater, people will recognize jokes on there that are extremely niche
Yeah, that
internet
definitely
gags
happens.
and they'll laugh their asses off. And it's like it's one of those things where like we can talk towards brain rot or whatever, but it's like no, like this is where like this is in group, this is community, this is like a share like the shared language of a identity that is mainly formed through our relationships online. Like it is very cultural, subcultural.
No,
And I
100%.
think it's an
Oh,
important thing to showcase. And I think a lot of people would never think that is like an important enough thing to like put in a movie, but it's like
no,
no, like especially when you
absolutely not.
see it with an audience is amazing.
And it ties into the aspect of the of Turner being, you know, as someone who is failing at gender in the set, and it creates this kind of shared humanity between Turner and Traps. And I think that's really important. And you know, I say brain rot with love, like with all these
I
things.
see. Okay.
It's an example of you know, of the movie being real. Like there is nothing more real, there's no scene that felt more real to me than the Dune scene. And one important thing I did want to ask is, do you agree with Cricket's assertion that or assertion that David Lynch didn't do a good job? Because I disagree. But
I think
that scene became such like, because that scene was on YouTube. Me and my girlfriend just repeat, she's so sleepy all the time to the point where she had gone to the bathroom during the intermission that's in the movie, and when she came back, the film's that scene's pretty early on in the second part of the first part of Castration movie, isn't it? And I
mhm.
was like, oh shit, it's starting. We have to, she has to be here so we can say the line at the same time. But I shouted back at the screen. I was like, no, he did do a good job.
Well, I mean, that's one of those magical things about the process, right? Like the process of making this movie, since it's very loosely scripted, allows me to collaborate with all of my friends in ways where it's like people will just come with fucking genius ideas on the day because we had a totally different thing planned out for what they're arguing about. And then, like 5 minutes before yelling action, Vera goes, "You know what? I'm not feeling this other thing. I want to riff on this Dune thing that came up or whatever." And I was like, okay, let's roll with that one first. Like, if that's what you're feeling, let's go for this like Dune conversation you guys have. And I mean, obviously, it's like one of those memorable moments of part
It's
one.
it's brilliant. It's just so real. Like if you have, you know, I have a special interest in Dune, but it's like if you've had a partner who has a special interest, and I love it, like personally hearing my partner go off on stuff that sometimes I don't understand at all, but like, you know, to see it happen is glorious. But it's just it felt so real, and it felt like a moment in the screen where we were seeing like the what was happening in the cinema was becoming part of was part of the film as well, because we were seeing like the reality of hanging out with trans people
Yeah.
like
Oh
coming
yeah, I
back
think
to us.
everyone has those experiences. I can
100%.
think of multiple times where I've been in rooms like that throughout my life. And like I think that also just to answer your other question, I
Yes,
think
sir.
that the David Lynch Dune is really good for the first half and then rushes the second half in a way that doesn't work very
Yeah,
effectively.
I think I would say that he did a good job because he did the best job that he could do in the circumstances, and the circumstances include trying to make that book as one film is like a fool's errand, like, do you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I love that film as a David Lynch film. I don't love it as a version of the book, if that makes sense. Like I
I
think
mean, like I think it's his probably his weakest film, but I am okay with it. I mean, it's fun to see him with like studio money or whatever.
yeah, I think it's interesting example. I always use it as an example of because it tries to do the interior monologues of multiple characters of why more films don't do that. And I think it's interesting to have an example of why that doesn't work. If that
See, and
makes
that's one
sense.
of the things I really like about that movie is
No, I
the
like it too, but I
yeah.
think I like its weirdness, like that it exists in that kind of strange fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, my favorite Lynch is Inland Empire.
Yeah, a
That
lot of
and
people have compared Castration Movie to Inland Empire, and I think the digital video does a huge amount
it's
of heavy
I
lift.
think it's just because of the digital video and
Yeah,
because it's long. I honestly, the thing that's funny is like there's some stuff that looks similar in the movie, and definitely like the textures of some of these like real locations and stuff like kind of matches the way Lynch handles like these kind of grimy real textures. But like I don't like I don't think Castration Movie has, at least in part one, has like that sort of like Inland Empire flavor. Like I would I don't know, like part one is, it's like weird to watch back now because I can't even really think of like any movies it's like on like
Yeah.
a personal level. Like I definitely wasn't drawing from any like film influences like consciously when I was making
Mhm.
it. It was very much so just kind of like shooting it in a way that felt fresh and new to me, and like trying to avoid doing anything that was too um like
Homage kind
referential.
of like that kind of like cloying, kind of annoying end of
Yeah,
homage.
like I hate pastiche. Like the only
Yeah,
shot
same.
that I kind of let get in there was like I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan, and so is Aoife,
Yeah,
and
and that's
Aoife was
very, I mean,
doing.
you're a trans woman in your 30s, of course you are. So am I.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like one of the funniest ones is there's a shot of a ceiling fan in a Castration Movie because Aoife was lying on her back while we were shooting the scene where I'm injecting hormones, and I think she said to me like, "Hey, can I just like do the Twin Peaks shot real quick?" And
Amazing.
I was like, okay, we got to make it different or whatever. Like, it can't look the same. But yeah, sure, if that's what your heart's telling you. Because like whenever anyone's holding the camera, I always let them
Yeah, no, that's
dictate what it looks like.
beautiful aspect of the film is how collaborative it feels. Like in the same way like People's Joker. Not as much, of course, but that's an element that I really love to the film. And it's like you've assembled kind of like a trans art of like expendables of like amazing people from Ada Rook to Vera, Alice. Um, it's a really incredible kind of like group of people. But I mean, I felt but yeah, when we were saying about the kind of annoying, cloying end of homage, did you see? I think it was called The Burning World or The Drowning World a few years ago.
Hmm. What happened in that one?
It was kind of it was a one about kind of girl who goes into kind of like a kind of dream world. I'm
Was
trying to.
it was it the one with Udo Kier, Blazing World?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. That one was nice.
I felt like it was having the words "I like David Lynch" blasted at me for like an hour and a half, but like,
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is like I'll give any like young director
oh no, of course. But I mean,
the chance to do what they want to do. I mean, like because I think Carlson Young like couldn't have been older than like I don't know. She's probably my age directing that movie,
yeah,
honestly.
fair
But
enough.
like,
I mean, like at the same time, like Knives and Skin was totally that as well, and I love that, So I have no
yes.
consistency when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, I won't like clout like get on people for like liking pastiche. I think that that's like a part of any art form. I
Mhm.
just like when I go back to when I think of the filmmakers I like, the stuff that they're pastiching is like, oh, I'm calling back to like famous literature, like
Mm.
or I'm looking at pop art or whatever. Like if I'm looking at like the new wave filmmaker, French new wave filmmakers and stuff like that. It's like the influences are broad and
Mm.
a mix of like high and low art. And like for me, with Castration Movie, that was kind of the question of like, okay, well, I'm so sick of movies that are just calling back to other movies we like. And it's like, well, how do you make a classic movie?
Mhm.
Well, you do a classic movie by being original and unique and
Yeah,
telling a good story with good characters and fresh style. So like to try to stand out, which like I mean clearly paid off because Castration Movie has done way more than any 4.5 hour trans movie shot on high 8 video should.
absolutely.
But like it was like my big influences, as I said, were like YouTube, and like you know uh, bad websites that would just scroll me infinite video like loops of terrible videos on the internet, like the kind of like video roulette sites from back in the day.
Mm.
And then like video games, like I was playing a lot of Death Stranding before making this, and I thought,
Oh,
okay, well, I want to, feel immersed in the way that a video game gets me immersed, where I'm
yeah.
like
I'm one
walking
of the
with these
few
characters for a long
non
time. And then like lots of literature. Like I was reading a lot of trans literature, but then also like there's a lot of post like my aspirations towards like a lot of postmodern and also like modernist literature. Like I'm thinking about like Virginia Woolf or like
Wow.
Thomas Pynchon when I'm doing this. And then like the film references are like mostly in the like the negative quality. It's like I'm looking at someone like Lav Diaz or Jacques Rivette and how they would approach like a long story and going, okay, here's things that they did. What is my entryway to justify my ability to tell a story this long, and what am I going to do differently so it doesn't feel like retreading? So like in Out One, there's these great long theater sequences where they're rehearsing theater, which are very captivating, but also kind of cloying in certain regards. Like I remember when I watched the movie the first time, there was a degree of like, okay, when are we going to get out of this? But I was like, okay, I can take these sorts of asides if I want to that are thematic, like what they're rehearsing is thematically resonant to the overall story, but what can I do? And for me, that was like the live music portions of the
Oh,
movie
they're
where
amazing.
we could shoot these concerts and it's like, oh, now we're in the musical space. The songs they're singing are revealing the inner worlds of these characters in ways where as the film goes on, like the last act of it has like four musical performances because it hits a point where it's just like it's easier for them to sing their feelings than to actually talk to each other. And like doing that sort of stuff is like, you know, kind of like that, like seeing some of these other movies that allow that sort of uh, structural sort of like I don't know experimentation gave me permission to do it, I guess, in a way. But the point I'm getting at is I had a very broad swath of influences for this.
Yeah.
Like it was really trying to cultivate a palette for this movie where I was like, if I put all these things together that I like in a blender, no one would possibly have the same grouping of ingredients. So this is a movie that only I could make. And I think that that's the important thing
No,
with
it
like being broad in your influences.
it 100% is, and the performance of it is that the track by Froggy Worm Barbie Swan Lake, like when Traps is running along, that's an incredible scene. I mean, after the screening, I talked to James who put it on, and I said like, as I said in my review, like it's reminiscent of like some early Harmony Korine, but I mean, I wonder how much that is the digital video that is doing the heavy lifting for that, and that is what is recalling that. But I also kind of said, but it's not that as well, and like there is a love at the same time. Like there is, I think that there is a clear love of Fire Walk with Me in there. I don't mean it in that necessarily was like a conscious choice to evoke, but and also Traps wears the Girls of Twin Peaks t-shirt, so like it's a very obvious kind of one to pick up on. But I felt like very clear influence of Fire Walk with Me, but it's also not like that, and it's something very original.
Yeah, and the thing is like Firewalk with like as you said, like it's impossible not to feel such a affinity to some like to Firewalk with me as a trans woman in my
Yeah, of
30s. Like it
course.
just means a lot to me. So it's like that stuff slips in there, but it's like always trying to think of like how am I doing it differently? And if I am gonna have like it's one of those things where it's like I want my sequence to be powerful enough that you're not in the moment just thinking about Twin Peaks. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
no, but I
oh,
mean,
this might remind me of Twin Peaks, but it's
yeah.
not like, oh, hey, she's doing the Twin Peaks thing.
No.
And then like I think the other influence too that a lot of people don't really bring up as much is the like 90s like Lars von Trier Golden Hearts trilogy, like
Yeah.
Breaking the Waves, The Idiots, Dancer in the Dark. Like I think that those are movies that had such a big effect on me when I first saw them. And there's times in Castration Movie Part One where watching it, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm really hitting Von Trier's editing rhythm of just like the handheld camera through a long conversation where I'm
Yeah.
cutting on these beats of the argument so it hits in the most powerful way. So then with part two, I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna be really bold. I'm gonna commit to not cutting. Like
Amazing.
we're gonna do these scenes where every scene is one take. We only do it once, and the oneer has no cuts in it. So like part two is because of that is like a lot longer than part one. Like I think part two's current running time is 5 hours.
Amazing. And
But
that
and it's just one chapter, so it's definitely broadening the movie in one regard, but it is one of those flashy things where it's like I think it'll off-put a lot of people. But if you're someone who was like in Castration Movie for that level of immersion, I think that part two is gonna just like pile drive.
Well,
Like it is such an intense movie.
you have created something that is an endurance fest in a different way than the kind of like aforementioned extreme underground sleazy horror of the aughts. You've kind of created that where like I felt a kinship with the people who had sat through part one, that we had kind of had an emotional experience together, and that I think, it'll dissuade some people, but the best stuff, the best art to me isn't for everyone, and this is an aspect of it that makes it very singular and definitely like allowed me to get into the rhythms of the movie and allowed it to wash over me.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, like it's so funny because like when I set out to make this film, like the first month of shooting, like December 2022, I remember talking about I was like, this is gonna be a 90-minute or 80-minute, I think at the time I said 80-minute movie. And we just started shooting, and then I realized like my ambitions had gotten the best of me, where I was like, oh wait, this whole script I wrote, like it's actually impossible for it to be 80 minutes. And then like as time has progressed, because we're now entering like 3 years of working on this project, it's like interesting how much like the way my life has gone has also shaped the sort of fascinations I have in the movie. Because like we've never stopped filming, but like certain tones of scenes might change as like
yeah.
my life is also transforming. So there's like a degree to which like like all artists, like your life is informing the work you choose to do, but like it's been fun where it's like one narrative that's being shaped by like the amount of time it's taking to make the project. Like I find it very fascinating as an artist to like look back at something I shot 2 years ago and be like, oh my God, like I had a completely different life at that moment, like and that's what I'm seeing reflected in this movie.
It's
Um
it's it's the tranny boyhood.
yeah, it kind of is. I mean, like you are seeing everyone like kind of transitioning
Well,
before
I
your
mean,
eyes in a way.
Magda looks completely different. I mean, as happens in transition, but when I saw pictures of Magda who plays Rocco recently, like he looks completely different to the point where he did at the movie. I mean, do you have him doing his first tee shots in the movie?
Yeah, and it's like really fun. Like we're getting ready to shoot some more scenes with him. And like it is like so cool to like get to have that contrast in a movie, because like the thing was like as depressing and whatever like a lot of the movie is I fucking love trans people. Like I want to make a movie that like also celebrates the moments of joy that you get in
No,
like
100%.
life
And
as a trans person, and like getting to reflect that stuff, especially in the character of Rocco, was like so liberating to me because I'd never seen a good like trans guy story, especially with like positive um like just like a character who just like gets to kind of like everything's kind of working out. There's not like a
yeah,
whole like I don't know. It's just fun. I just love getting to
he's
watch
not
everything with
just
that
a
character.
murder victim of the transphobic characters.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, like the thing is like you get like outside of documentary, you get so little like representation of trans guys, and and I think that was like kind of the impetus of this whole project was like when I originally conceptualized it, there was like a degree to which in my head I was like, oh, I'm kind of like parodying the idea of a trans movie, where it's like I'm making a trans sex worker movie. And I joked initially, it's like, and every trans character in this is gonna die. Like, like that's not the case. So that was like kind of the initial joke was like trying to do something that like, I guess like with more of my like semiotics background, like thinking of like the early work of like a filmmaker like Sally Potter or something where you're deconstructing the archetype of what is this character, and then like applying like sort of a critical lens on it to be like, okay, well, what happens to these characters in narrative? Oh, well, they die and this and that, and then it's like, oh, well, how does the artifice of the way we're doing this film and all that by like putting it in reality? It's like, oh, well, now they're kind of in a way because we're reflecting a real experience instead of the melodrama of like a Hollywood or television experience. Now they're kind of like almost fighting back in their inertia, where it's like, no, you're just gonna like watch them kind of like live their lives for a long time. And I think that like one of the things that was so important to me is like the moments that are slow cinema in the movie, like there's like scenes where Traps takes a shower or brushes her teeth or whatever,
Yeah.
are like these scenes where it's like just trying to get people like used to like seeing a trans body just existing in a
Which is
normal way.
insane to me that that's something that people don't see. But then the call is coming from inside the house with me. And it's the same as I sometimes, when I've talked with coworkers, have been like, am I the first trans person that you knowingly have talked to? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's bizarre to me because I've built my life around being around us all the time. Like, I forget that that's not the experience. But I also felt like the slow cinema kind of scenes that you set up with like you know, douching or taking a piss or these kind of things just mean that when, you know, you get pissed on later on or or you know, stub out the cigarettes on yourself or something else, it feels like that's being documented in a matter of fact way as well.
Yeah, I mean, like that was one of the things that I always said was like trying to aim for realism with as much as possible. Like that's why I play the lead character in this is because thing I learned with Computer Hearts and why I played the lead in that one as well was like movies take a long time. So if I star in it, I can always base everything around the fact that I'm always available as the lead actor. And then two, it's like with all my films, it was always a level of like I want to be able to go the extra mile where I can get naked and do something crazy and just have complete freedom. And I'm lucky to surround myself with like a lot of actors who are also like so game. Like I don't appear in part two of Castration Movie. And
Okay,
but I
interesting. I
found
was going to ask you about that.
yeah, and but the actors I found like they understood the assignment. Like I barely even had to I never had to like ask for anything. Like they would always volunteer to take things to the next level in a way that I thought was like really beautiful as like collaborators and like as a director to get to work with people who are like so game for what this project can be and like offering themselves up to you know take it to the ultimate level, which is like super fun. Like the movie's just ridiculous. So it makes me very excited for people to see it.
I mean, and it's weird saying I think the entire cast is amazing. I think Aoife's eyes are just a strength of like a secret weapon of the movie. When you put a camera up close on that girl's eyes, like it just you capture something incredible, like her vulnerability, but also Magda, everybody's incredible in it. I mean, I wanted to ask about so the film is now four parts, which the third part I saw on IMDb is titled Year of the Hyena.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, in terms of the stuff that we've kind of seen clips of, like, is the Tiffany plotline going to be in the second part now, or has that been shifted further?
So Tiffany's in the third part. The sequences with Ada Rook are in the third part. The stuff with Jane Schoenbrunner in the third part. Like a lot of the stuff that I've been kind of teasing at ended up in part three because the current running time, if I just pull up my Adobe Premiere right now of the whole movie is oh wonderful 15 and a half hours
Incredible.
including part one. So that means
At the
that like the
cinema.
part two we had shot, which isn't done filming yet, like we still have so much left to do for what was originally planned as the entirety of part two. But things take time and also money. Like we you know we did a really successful crowdfunding campaign at the start of the year. That was about enough to get us about 11 hours of footage shot,
Mm.
which I think for any other movie is exceptional to have like, oh, cool, 11 hours of movie. That's like, you know, 11 episodes of a TV show or whatever. But for Castration Movie, unfortunately, it's like, oh God, we still have like, you know, another couple hours to do to finish what was all scripted here. So like, I think where I'm at right now is like, we're gonna get part two out. Hopefully that does like well for us so we can get a little bit
Yeah.
more get some money into to continue shooting the rest of part three. And then my goal is to take a year off before part four because the fourth part, which we've already shot some of it, like we did a little bit of footage on like 16 millimeter film. And like
Amazing.
the thing about like part four is it's so insanely ambitious with what I have scripted to like tie everything together from this project, that it's like going to require a either a years of effort or like an actual budget of like not like crazy, like like $150,000 Canadian or whatever, but
Yeah,
like
which is like the Electric State compared to the previous chapters.
yeah, exactly. Because like so far right now, if you look at it, like each chapter has cost like $30,000 Canadian or whatever. Because we had about about that for the first one, and then part or I mean maybe close to like $50,000 Canadian for the first one, and then part two was honestly the fact that we shot as much as we did means that like now having split it up into two and three, it's like each of those is like half of the budget of the first part one, It's like crazy how much we're making this money, stretching this money out and like being able to like pay everyone and like make all these amazing connections with people. I mean, like that's one of the things that's like the best about doing this movie is like I get to work with people who are like my distributor Liz Purcell pointed this out, which is like the crazy thing about Castration Movie is that you are getting to unlock like you are getting access to some of the world's most talented artists working today
Yeah,
who
that's what I was
cannot get
thinking.
booked because
Yeah.
they're trans. Like it's like just because they're trans, they end up in like a niche off on the side, where they don't like where it's like, I can walk in with the Castration Movie stuff and be like, hey, we're working on this cool project, and like obviously we have like a personal connection and the project's really cool, so like people want to jump in. But I think Liz's comment was interesting because she was kind of attributing it's like, it's actually fucked up that all of these people who we're working with are like available to come out for an indie film, you know?
That's amazing.
Yeah, because like I like which I totally understand because like it is like like every person involved in this movie is so remarkably talented. Like none of them should have to like be slumming it in Castration Movie.
I mean, I think it's incredible that they are. Part two is coming out on September 4th. I presume that means that it's going to drop on Gumroad as well.
Well, I've been talking to my distributors because like I think the main conversation we were having as a group was like how do we put this out? Because my plan was originally just to drop it on Gumroad with part one, but everyone was kind of like because I'm working with distributors in both like the UK and the US,
Yeah.
and they're like
Matchbox Cinema shout out.
um yeah, Matchbox Cine and Muscle Distribution. So like all just like the best people in the world, and I want to make sure that they like they're doing such great work getting the movie theatrical everywhere. So I wanted to just like I am admittedly the hardest director to work with because I just get whims and just do stuff. Like I announced the release date before even talking to these guys. Like I'm so bad. I'm so badly getting
Yeah,
into
that's
filmmaker.
amazing.
But when we talked, it was like, okay, well, I think what we're gonna do is like virtual screenings that are gonna be like through Eventive or something, where like
Okay.
it'll be pay what you want to get into the virtual screen, but it's just a way for like everyone to, make a few bucks so we can handle having subtitles on the movie and like, like do it like getting all that kind of work done
Yeah.
through those platforms. And then like also it kind of like gives it a chance where if we do it through Eventive, like the thing I liked about that pitch was if we do those Eventive screenings, it's like it starts at a set time. So it's like, and then you have like a chat on the side. So it's like,
Yeah.
even if you're like watching it alone in your house, you're watching it alongside a bunch of people, and can see the reactions and all that kind of stuff. And I can kind of sit in and it's kind of like doing it's like the one of the first screenings we ever did of the movie that I was present at was in Gretchen Felker Martin's Discord server. And like getting to sit there and like be interacting with people while the movie was playing over the chat was so exciting. So I think that that's going to be a fun way to
No, hell
uh
yeah.
kind of do
I
it again.
can't imagine watching. The thing was, is I assumed I was talking with my partners about it and I was like, I don't want to watch it on my own, so I have to figure out something because it just after having had the perfect kind of audience experience with the first one, I am like chomping at the bit for this movie. Like this is a reference that's going to show my age, like the Chinese democracy of of trans cinema for
Hey,
me.
hey, hey. I did not take as long.
No, no, yeah,
Here's
to
the
be fair,
thing.
you haven't
We can,
taken,
you
but
can
I,
call me the trans Axl Rose with Chinese Democracy for the fourth part, because that might take me forever to get finished at this rate. But at least for part two, like part two is coming out like a year and a half after the first one. That
I
is
mean,
not
fair
too long of
enough.
a wait.
That is fair enough, but I just meant in the kind of the sense of the comparable level of anticipation. But the trans
Oh, well,
Axl
I'll take
Rose is
that. I mean that's good. I mean, hopefully I can have hopefully the work I'm doing is as good as that album at least.
hopefully. I
Because
mean,
there's
at
some
least.
great tracks on that record.
I mean, I have to dive into. I have to be honest. Like the level, I need to dive into that album. The level of like, I have not reached your level of sicko in terms of some of the movies, but I also like, I was not a 4chaner, thankfully. I was cringe, like, I mean, but it's interesting kind of like thinking about one of the things that you and Aoife talked about on Transpanic is, what does a trans lens mean for looking at transgressive cinema? And like, I know I'm being self-indulgent, but thinking about like this podcast, it's like I kind of said, well, it's not, ostensibly, it's not a queer horror podcast because not every film, not everything I'm going to cover is going to be by queer people. But at the same time, it is notable being like you do feel special being a not a cis dude in the horror community, and like I can't deny that that is a different perspective
Well, and
than
it's a hard thing to be, especially in the horror community. Like anyone who's like outside of that like white cis male straight like horror dude is like I faced a lot of difficulty. Like one of the things that caused me to kind of switch gears with the films I was producing and stuff, and like post like kind of around the time Trump was running, was I was seeing like a lot of my friends in the horror community who I'd built through like relationships at like horror cons and regional horror film festivals and stuff. We're all jumping on the Trump bandwagon, and we're suddenly being like very homophobic and all this stuff in ways
yeah,
that like I wouldn't have expected from them. And I think that I suddenly was like, oh wait, there's a big chunk of the audience who's very much so reactionary. Because like the thing with horror movies is like they're a reactionary genre, but like the pe but it's like they're like I guess like what makes horror movies interesting is because they're often made by people who have a more progressive politic, like the way in which politics operate in a horror movie with this like, oh, we have to like return to normal, we have to destroy
yeah,
like the monster that represents like, like queerness or race or like disability or whatever, like that is all within like this sort of like broader tapestry of like social commentary, right?
mm,
But then you think about it, and it's just like, oh yeah, like when I was working on these movies where like, we're killing all these like minorities and sex workers and stuff, like there was some people who were watching it who didn't get like that's the scary part. Like they were like
yeah.
enjoying that part, and that was like a big revelation for me. And like I think that what's important about like you doing a podcast like this and like what started me and Aoife doing our podcast was like me wanting to be like, hey, I want to like reclaim this stuff from like a perspective of like I know these movies, I worked on these movies, and I love these movies, and I want to bring a lens to it where I can say, hey, it's actually okay to like this stuff
Yeah,
as someone
100%.
who maybe doesn't feel as connected to some of these other people in the horror community who try to make it all about themselves, like that white straight perspective.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like I do think that there's something really important about the work you're doing with starting this pod, and it's like
Oh, thank you so
yeah,
much.
no, I think it's important for us to like bring our perspectives, and even if it's not always like one of the things I find the most cringe is like when people try to like I find it's definitely important for people to find their transness in works that don't necessarily like have that as like their sort of like intended metaphor. Like a lot of people talk about like the works of David Cronenberg as feeling very
Yeah.
like transcoded or whatever, when Cronenberg has never once thought about that stuff outside of that like
I mean, he
Crimes
was
of the
complimentary to
Future
us,
interview.
but
There's that one Crimes of the Future interview where he's like, I think trans people are pretty cool. They're artists of the body or whatever.
yeah.
But like I think that that's his relationship to it. It's definitely not saying he's like thinking about with the way he's doing his movies. Like I think he's mostly
I
interested
mean,
in the body as
he's
a car, like he's thinking about it in terms of the way like a mechanic
yeah.
works on a car. And so like to me, I think that a strong like as much as I like, people having that connection to work and being like, oh, I can see my transness in this movie. I think there's a lot to be said just about like on a broader like social, political, and like theoretical level of like, oh, what is my relationship as a trans person to art that like wasn't made with me as the intended audience, and then
Yeah,
like just
totally.
bringing up like just the fact of bringing your perspective to reviewing it, even if you never talk about trans identity once, is just like an interesting thing to do. So I
Yeah.
applaud you for doing
Oh,
another
oh,
horror
thank you
podcast.
so
We
much.
need
Thank
more. We need more of these sorts of things. So
well, the,
good on you. And thanks for getting me out. This was very fun.
no, thank you so much. I mean, I think as well, do you find like if are you good to go for a few more minutes?
I can go forever. I'm good
I
until
that
for another
look
45
honestly, that's
minutes.
the difficulty, and I'd love to have you back on, like just to talk about a particular movie, like one that I maybe it sounds like a strange one, but I'd love to talk about a Serbian film, and I'm not gonna spring that on you just out of nowhere without giving you the chance to like think about it beforehand.
No, I would love to. And it's so fun. One of my best friends in the world and my producing partner, Heather Buckley, has a
Oh,
movie
she's
coming.
awesome.
Oh yeah, I love
I
Heather
met her
so
at
much.
Fright
But
Fest.
oh, that's so great. I mean, she and I are meeting up at TIFF in 2 weeks because
She was a producer on the first film, wasn't she?
she was a producer on all of Castration Movie. Yes, indeed. We've known each other since the horror days, but really became friends like when I started reading scripts for her during the pandemic for her production company. And then we started producing together a few years into that. But like I was gonna say, with uh, with her in Serbian film. There's a new film coming out called Karmadonna, which has some of the team of Serbian film on it that I know Heather helped out on
Okay,
as
I'm
one of
writing that
the
down.
associate
Karmadonna, like
producers.
Karma, K-O-R-M-A.
Yeah, Karmadonna. Yeah, and I've heard it's amazing. Heather's been hyping up to me. I'm gonna go see it at TIFF in a couple
That's
weeks, and then
incredible.
I'll recommend everyone else go check it out too. Because if Heather gives it the stamp of approval, it's some good sicko core.
I don't know if you got that Arrow box set, the Hellraiser box set from a few years ago, but I specifically picked it up because Heather had done a documentary tracing where the visual influence for the Cenobites came from and traced it back to the London Got clubs. And like when I heard about that documentary, I was like, I'm buying that box set. And
Yeah, no,
I
Heather's documentary work and work on DVD supplements is like integral, the best bonus features you can possibly get, and then everything she also co-produced that movie Riding Shotgun with me, and so like we have been, I don't know, all over like just trying to like keep doing cool work that's kind of in line with what we've been talking about on this podcast. Like
when
there's
is Writing
there
Shot?
there's
Sorry,
sickos
I'll let you
out
finish.
there. No, sorry, what were you saying?
Sorry, I cut across you. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, it's good to know there's other sickos out in the
No,
field right now.
but this is the thing is that like do you feel that it sometimes cuts the other way? Like see it feeling you can feel this sense of alienation with the horror community as a queer person, but I conversely have also felt not often and particularly not around like trans women because we're all deranged. I'm allowed to say that cis people listening to this are not. I sometimes kind of feel like I felt like a lack of, or not lack of kinship, but kind of a distance from queer communities sometimes because sometimes often they're not sickos who have like
Yeah.
seen these fucked up movies and had this fucked up teenage years on the internet. And that's why like I totally mean it as a positive when I said like you're a sicko girl because like I remember my good friend who'll be on the pod at some stage, Nico Wild, like when I went into their flat and like saw the Necromantic box set, the Necromantic Blu-rays there, I was like, all right, like I have a I was already friends, but like I have a kindred spirit here. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's
um,
really interesting to me. Like, I mean, I think that that's one of the reasons. Like, those are the types of people who drove Castration Movie's success through the word of mouth, where my initial audience were coming from that perspective of people who had that intersection of trans identity and like sicko film nerd, like it was those people who were like, okay, I've known Louise's work for a while. I trust that I'm going to be in good hands with this stuff. And like it is really interesting. Like I think that a lot of um, what like castration movies also exploring on like a meta level is that disconnect from like a broader queer community as you're kind of like in these sort of like trans spaces, like hanging out with people who kind of share like castration movie as it goes on definitely interrogates these sorts of ideas, especially in the third part. And I don't know. I think that like for me it's just like I'm a huge pervert, so like
Hell
I'm
yeah.
gonna be connected like to people who at least share that quality. And I think it's like really funny because when I see negative responses to castration movie, it does like kind of crack me up that it's people who just don't share that quality at all. Like they're like it's the non-sickos in the queer community who have
Yeah.
like the biggest issues with the movie and are like, oh my God, I've got to like mute the topic or whatever. I never want to hear about this movie. It's just gross edgelord trash or whatever, which is so funny because like the first castration movie is like no, I don't think it's an edgy movie at all. Like I never that never even crossed my mind when I made it. Like it was kind of a joke with the marketing to be like, oh, you're never gonna believe what happens in this 4.5 hour movie. Like it was just like a joke to get people to watch a 4.5 hour trans movie.
I, I mean, I would say that it is somewhat extreme, Louise, in that it is a film where you put cigarettes out on yourself for real. Like, I'm not suggesting that it's an August Underground, but at the same time, maybe our warped perspective is a little bit,
That's true. That's very
desensitized to
true.
that.
That's true. I mean, I guess it's like if you're not used to kind of like underground film, the stuff in this is it might feel a little intense. And I guess it is like as I said earlier, like only I could make this movie where it's like, like doing a scene where I'm putting cigarettes on myself and just being like, oh yeah, that's just what you do for a movie, like
Yeah.
because I'm coming from this background of like as I told the story at the start of this pod, like you know, being on set and being like, hey, do you want me to piss myself this take? Like it's like like that level of dedication for the
Yeah,
role is just
real.
like that's what I think of as like real movies, I guess.
Recently started a new job and I haven't like mentioned being poly or my story of a girl I know who did consensual cannibalism yet, and it's been 2 weeks, so like I'm doing pretty well. So with when is Riding Shotgun gonna be? I mean, like I'm aware I used to I had kind of minor involvement where I did film in college and I've like worked on indie films, so like I'm aware asking how long when is like how long is a piece of string, but at the same time, like, do you know when Riding Shotgun will be kind of first being screened? Because it's been in post for a while, hasn't it?
It's been posted for a year. So it's like we kind of had a cut the director was happy with, and the market's just really tough right now. So we're just like kind of back into it, like looking at what other
Hmm.
changes we can make. And it's a great little movie. So I really can't wait for people to see it. I think that 2026 is a good benchmark for when to expect that to come out.
Hell yeah. I mean, for anybody we've kind of just talked around Castration Movie because I don't want to go into a synopsis of it again, but could you just describe Riding Shotgun to anybody who might not have heard of
Yeah.
it?
Riding Shotgun's movie I made with my ex and longtime filmmaking collaborator Dion Copeland. She was with me from Computer Hearts up until Riding Shotgun. We we,
She's
we
your
worked
girlfriend in
together.
Computer Hearts, yeah.
Yeah, she plays Vanessa 2 in Computer Hearts. The
Mm.
AI computer is her voice. And
Oh,
then
okay.
she plays the nurse in SIDS, and then she returned to acting after 10 years to have a role in Castration Movie, playing my ex-wife, which is very fun.
Real.
Yeah, but we've made movies together forever. I produced with her for 10 years. It's kind of where I like, really cut my teeth on doing bigger and bigger projects as the years went on. And we did a movie together that I produced and she wrote and directed called Riding Shotgun. which is about this like lonely guy in a small town, works at the video store, kind of a movie nerd, like goofy dude, ends up kind of like stranded at a strip club on his birthday after his friends ditch him there. And the the strippers have ulterior motives where one of the girls kind of takes him out back, like, "Hey, maybe we'll go home together." And before he knows it, her and her two friends have knocked him to the ground and have put locked a collar around his neck, and attached to the collar is a
Nice.
single barrel shotgun. And they pile into his car and tell him that he's got to drive them across the country to help them sell these drugs that they stole from their boss, who's this like psycho. And so they end up in kind of this high stakes road trip. And the twist on it's that him and the girl who kidnapped him start to fall in love. So now they have to figure out how to not only get away from the friends who planned the heist, but also the crazy boss who's in hot pursuit of them. So it's a fun movie.
That sounds incredible. I don't have my camera on, but like my face was just joy hearing that concept. Like that sounds amazing. Um, I can't wait to see. And this was made with real money, wasn't it? This was like a massive budget compared to
It was
Castration.
yeah, I mean it was like a $2 million budget. I would never do it again. I mean like I don't know. I would never produce a movie of that scale again, at least. I'm willing to
Okay.
direct a movie with lots of money. If anyone's listening and is thinking they want to see what Louise Ward directing with $2 million looks like. But at least in terms of producing it, that was kind of like the that, and then I did Serpents right after, and I was kind of like, okay, I think I'm overproducing for a while, just because I'm having way too much fun directing, and I'm
Yeah,
sick of
fair.
the paperwork job. I like being out in the world, interacting with people and actors and stuff like that. So, it was a wonderful final project to kind of close out that producing chapter on, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to that. And that is what's the actor's name again? Jesse James.
Yeah, so it has Jesse James Keitel in it, plays one of the villains. Douglas Smith, who is a wonderful actor, plays the lead villain. I don't know what people would recognize him from. He was leading like The Bye Bye Man, but also has like worked with
Oh,
like
sick.
Adam McGoyan and other like huge directors. Um, and then like a couple of new kids, Ben Adlin and Alicia Mayboom play the two leads, and yeah, I mean it's a really fun movie, and I can't wait for people to get the chance to see it.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be keeping an eye out on it for sure, because it sounds incredible. By the way, the fourth chapter of Castration Movie, does that have a title yet?
It does, but we are not announcing it yet. It's
Oh,
going to take some time. I'm going to
I
announce it
tried.
once we have a trailer, probably. Um,
Incredible.
and that one is going to be crazy because as it's planned right now, it's going to be one once again like one chapter of the movie. That will be the first time the film splits. Like so far the movie like kind of follows one character through each story, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's the one where we get the crossover of all these characters where the movie's played out, where we're cross-cutting between all the stories kind of converging to a point. And I am unbelievably excited to do it. I just need a lot of resources to pull it off the way it's written. And it'll take a little bit of time to get to that point. But I think that as it stands right now, obviously part two is about to come out. And then part three, if things go well and part two is successful, I'll be able to get the money together to do uh, part three out for next year for a 2026 release. Probably get it out in the
Incredible.
spring. And then Part four will follow once we figure out the budget.
Amazing. I mean, I feel like it is becoming this kind of epic work that I love to see how it's taking this shape of becoming more epic, but it really feels like I mean, I feel like epic is not doing justice to what I mean, but I love how it's become this work that has taken this time and reflected the changes in time and the changes in people and is kind of become like this kind of like living diary in a sense of a lot of people's lives and of what was going on. And I think that it is going to stand when it's all finished as like a real cinematic achievement in terms of this epic work.
Thank you so much. I mean, like, to me, what's so fascinating about it, and one of the reasons I think it's kind of stuck out, um, in like as an indie film, like it's so hard to break out and like making a movie this small of scale. It's like unprecedented to like, make a movie with your friends, and all of a sudden you're in the Guardian getting profiled, like it's kind of an unbelievable success story. And I think it really comes down to the fact that like the pitch of the length and the epic nature of the story is something that's never really been attempted in
No,
North
I like the
American
audacity
cinema.
of it as well.
Like like when I was like trying to think about it, I couldn't really name any North American filmmakers who were doing long narrative features in this capacity. Like obviously we have lots of like mini series and stuff like that's the place where a lot of this sort of stuff goes. But in like the landscape of independent film, we've never really seen anything outside of like the experimental works like during like like Andy Warhol filming Empire with Jonas Mekas or whatever, like those sorts of concepts, whereas yeah, no, doing Castration Movie where it's like, oh yeah, no, this is like a 25-hour movie that's like fully just narratively driven is very uncommon. So I'm happy to keep going with it. It does have an end planned. It's not something I plan to shoot for the rest of my life. I do have other movies planned out to get to hopefully soon. But for the time being, I am remarkably excited to have everyone see a castration movie a year, and I hope everyone likes what we did with
We
part
can
two.
become like the Saw franchise. We can just expect another one every year, and it'll just be like, ah,
I mean,
here
like
we go.
I think my goal would be like the way I make movies. I think it would be extremely achievable for me to release one or two movies a year. Um,
That's amazing.
it really would just come down to
Yeah.
getting the resources necessary to do it. So fingers crossed.
Hell yeah. I think we'll leave it there, Louise. Is there anything else that you want to shout out in particular? I would say check out, like, honestly, people say to me when I talk about the movie, they say, oh, I'd love to see it. I'm like, go to Gumroad. The first part of the film is there. It's at a ridiculously cheap minimum price of $150 Canadian. But by all means, pay the suggested donation because it's worth it. Computer Hearts is on Gumroad as well, and like I say, it comes with like incredible amount of stuff, including the Louise's presentation at Fantastic Fest, which needs to be seen. Um,
Thank you. I just want to say thanks. This was a blast of a conversation,
oh no,
and
thank you. It's been the most fun, honestly. Like, thank you so much. And like I said, like anything else you want to shout out? I know also Castration Songs, Aoife's music for the movie is you can buy a cassette of that from
yes, there is a cassette out now on dollartapes.org, which is like a pay what you want price. So all you're really covering is the shipping if you want to, or you can donate to them like releasing these cool things on physical media. We do have plans to get more merch and stuff out for the movie in the time, like in the over the next couple months as we fulfill Kickstarter perks and stuff. But like at the end of the day, like I don't care how you find the movie. I mean, like you can. It's I think the film's like part one's also up on like the Internet Archive and stuff. But if you want like the most high quality best, like most current up-to-date presentation of the film, go pick it up on Gumroad and throw a few bucks towards the continued production of the project is what that, that I'd release it for free if it didn't require money to keep going. So
And also, it stops
yeah.
your mother from seeing you naked, doesn't it, as well?
Well, that was like that was the main reason I put the dollar on. I was gonna put it up for free, and then I was like, no, I've got to charge a minimum of $1 because I know my mom won't hit play on it if she has to put her credit card in.
That's
And
amazing.
and then the thing is that like it's so expensive to host a movie that long and that big on here that I keep on having to like raise the price as I keep getting charged more fees. So we'll see where once I put part two up, it might increase in price to $10. We'll see what ends up happening with all the hosting I have to buy to keep all the footage going and all this stuff. So if I would get on that Gumroad now before
Yeah, get on it
that price
now.
might be going up. I mean, the joke one of my friends made was just always have the price at like $1 per hour of what you're getting. Like so
Amazing.
so as the movie gets longer, it'll get more expensive, and I think that that's like a kind of a funny bit to commit to. But also, if it's ever a barrier for anyone to see this movie, just reach out to me and I will send you a free discount code. Like I am not in this
That's
to
amazing.
make
That's
money.
that's
I'm
incredible.
like as I was saying to you at the start of the pod, it's like I'm couch surfing right now, just doing the movie stuff. Like I live for cinema. I'll die for cinema. Like this is just like
Yeah,
what
hell
I
yeah, I
do.
can tell. Like this is
So
why it's been so fun to do this, and I hope it's enjoyable for other people to listen to as it was for us to have the conversation.
absolutely. Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Is there any plans to maybe? I know that there was Kickstarter backer Blu-rays. Is there any plans for maybe physical releases of any of the part at any point?
Yeah, so our plan is I'm gonna get together. We're gonna do a VHS run of each chapter as its own OVA type, like single box set, so you can
Amazing.
have them all up on the on your bookshelf with like like 15 or 20 VHS tapes by the end of
That's
this.
incredible.
But one of the perks we offered was a Blu-ray release. So the intended plan is Liz Purcell's Muscle Distribution will be putting out a Blu-ray box set once the whole project's finished.
Okay.
So uh, I don't know what that's going to look like. There is a possibility that like parts 1 to 3, because they're all going to be done in a more reasonable time frame, might all be released as one box set, and then part 4 will be like this massive undertaking that like ends up being its own separate release or gets added into the set later or something.
I
But
hope I hope the VHSs in the box set have like that thing where there's a different part of a picture on each box and then you line them up and it'll form like,
I think
you know,
that is exactly our plan for the VHS set. Like
incredible.
it'd be so cool to have it say like Castration Movie across like every set, like
Oh,
every
vibes.
spine on one side. That'd
That's
be so fun.
incredible. That'd be
Um,
so sick.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely excited to keep releasing these dang movies and see what people's responses are. As I've said, I think 2 other times on this podcast, I am so unbelievably curious about what it's going to look like once part 2 gets released here, because it is an absolute uh, like it is a very unexpected continuation from part 1, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we kind of went through who's in chapter three because, or part three. Sorry if I'm interchangeably using those words, but being the little like nerd looking at the credits from the trailer for part two, I said to my girlfriend who is probably like, "Ah, she's on about this film again. I love you." That I thought it was interesting that you used Ada Rook's song in the trailer, but I didn't see her name listed in the credits. So I was like, oh, presumably Rook's gonna actually be in part three, even though
Yeah.
she's listed in the credits of part one.
Yeah, and you know what's actually really funny is if you go back now onto Gum Road and you take a little peek at if you go back onto Gum Road and take a peek at the opening credits, you will find that I finally fixed them to line them up with the actual, because originally I was really adamant on this idea of like, okay, Castration Movie is one film. It's just being released in parts because of the fact that it has to be because it's going to take me 10 years to make or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But what ended up happening was, so like I guess what I'm saying with that is like I always kept it as like the cast so far, and I would just update it with names of anyone who we had shot scenes with.
Which I
Um,
love.
which was a super fun way of doing it. But now with the part two release coming out and it kind of having this like, flavor to it where it's like, its own work in a way where like it's definitely still a continuation of part one of Castration Movie, but also it's going to screen on its own. Like it's not like we're playing, some theaters are going to do back-to-back screenings of part one and two, but I can't guarantee every person is going to do that when they watch it at home or something like that. So
Yeah.
I am accepting the fact that they can all be watched as separate entities until the
Yeah.
whole project is finished. So like my sort of thought with it is, as it stands, I'm gonna, sit back and enjoy the fact that Castration Movie gets to be a four-part film experience, and then when it's all done, I can finally go, okay, guys, here's the real intended perfect Castration Movie where everyone's name's in those opening credits and it's 20 hours long or whatever, and this was the intended way for it to be like released and
Yeah.
watched, So
And
we'll
like I
get
know
there eventually.
I'm not suggesting you could do this, but it feels like the kind of thing you could screen it once and then destroy it, or like that be the moment
Oh.
where you
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
it's done and then just like totally go,
Yeah.
okay, that's it. We're done with this now. That would be very very insane. But I'm not totally against the idea.
I mean, I'm just thinking, I guess, purely for dramatic. I'm not suggesting you or anybody else, kill themselves, but I can imagine showing that final film and then just like blowing your brains out onto the screen
I
and
mean,
being
that's my
like,
plan. I
take
mean,
me.
like this movie's taken a lot of work to make, so I feel like the only logical thing is to release it and then immediately like blow myself up. Like but the thing is
Incredible.
I don't need to actually kill myself. That's not fun. What I'll do is I'll like fake my death so everyone can be like, "Oh, it sure is unfortunate that we never get to see another film from the genius filmmaker Louise Ward."
Or to fake your own death shortly before the screening and then kind of appear in the
Oh,
audience.
see, that's also really, really good, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Before I let you go, can I ask, at the Dublin screening, there was a warning for no having sex during the screening of Castration Movie. Now, I imagine at home, people have probably fucked with this movie on, but
Yeah.
has anyone had sex during Castration Movie yet that you know of?
So the only hint of anything like that happening was I heard there was some heavy petting going on with a couple at one of our San Francisco, our Oakland screenings at Frameline because it was all couch seating, so you could get
Yeah,
pretty
that's,
cozy up
yeah.
on a couch there. So I mean, I am a huge sex freak, but at the same time, I also understand that there's a degree of like respect required in a cinema. Some people might be there because they want to watch the movie and enjoy the experience of letting a great motion picture wash over them. They don't want to be
Yeah,
distracted by the
yeah.
scents and sounds of sex happening next to them. So I mean, like,
I don't even want to think about what like Blue Sky would have to say about
yeah,
the
I mean,
ethics of consent around that, to be honest.
what would be really fun is to do like abject sensory screenings where it's like, okay, guys, like we have normal screenings and we have like the sort of like pervert
Yeah,
screenings where it's like,
like the rarity screenings for cats, but the perv screening.
it's like the opposite of like when they have screenings for like children and whatever. It's like no, like this is the screening where like you can have sex, you can wear a diaper, or like you can come out with like your full collar and leash on and like sit on your partner's lap or whatever. Like like really just go in for for like the freaks only screening.
Put some
I
plastic
think that'd be
sheeting
pretty
down.
fun. Yeah, no, I think that'd be fun. I mean, you'd have to find a venue who's okay with hosting such a thing, but I feel like that'll happen in like the thing about Castration Movie that's so interesting is it's already kind of become like a cult film through the way it
It's
builds with word
amazing.
of mouth. So like um I could see, in the history of what this movie is, like it developing some crazy rituals like that of like, okay, guys, we're all gonna start fucking at this exact time code, like with like the Rocky Horror callbacks or whatever.
Yeah, I'll start pissing at this point. Like,
Yeah, yeah, we
yeah.
all have to piss our
do
pants at this
do
exact
your
moment.
do your coke now. Like, it's
Yeah.
incredible. All right. Well, thank you so much, Louise. I'll have to have you back on. Like, this has been awesome. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah,
And
no, thank you so much. This was
thank
beautiful.
and thank you if you've made it this far, and thank you for listening to the first episode.
You would have been so hot as a boy.
Yeah, really?